Good afternoon. I hereby call this March the 13th meeting of the Public Safety Committee to order. As always, pretty sure you're familiar with what comes next. We'd like to thank our police department, our fire department, and our emergency management department for the work that you do to serve the citizens of this community. If you don't hear it anywhere else, which we know that you do, you're going to hear it here. So thank you for your service, and we really appreciate you. For those who are tuning in, we have a consent and a general agenda. Consent agenda items are typically approved with a sweeping motion unless a member of the council or committee asks an item to be pulled for consideration. With that being said, members of the committee or council, are there any items that we should pull from consent for consideration?
C3.
Item C3. Is there a motion to approve the balance?
Move for approval of the balance.
Second.
It's been motioned and properly seconded. All in favor of approving the balance of the consent agenda, please vote yes. Opposers, vote no. That is unanimous. Thank you. Item C3, please.
Item C3, resolution by the City of Winston-Salem authorizing execution of opioid settlements and approving the supplemental agreement for additional funds between the State of North Carolina and local governments on proceeds relating to the settlement of opioid litigation.
Thank you. Mr. Larson, did you have a particular question or did you need a presentation?
I'd like a quick briefing on this. Mostly the question is how much money are we dealing with, and have we received any yet? And if so, how do we plan to disperse it? Those are the questions that I have.
Assistant City Manager Tony, hope you're well today.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman Taylor and members of the Public Safety Committee. Yes, Councilmember Larson, this particular item is in reference to a second wave of opioid settlement funding. The first wave came in approximately a year ago. We are projected to receive about $200,000 on average per year over the next 18 years for a total of about $3.2 million. We have recommended that those resources go to our BEAR team, Behavior Evaluation and Response team, as it fits within the guidelines of the opioid funding, in that the team can respond to substance abuse, homeless people, anyone dealing with a mental health crisis, and obviously substance abuse fits within that category. So the second wave, we don't know specifically our allocation. We do know that over $600 million is expected to come to the state. And so this will allow us to sign on to the settlement. They need the municipalities and counties to sign on to it so that they can move forward with securing these resources for the state.
So this basically puts us on the track for the second allocation.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Assistant City Manager Tony on this item?
Move approval of item C3.
One more question, if I could.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, Mr. Mundy, if you hold just for one moment, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion, Councilman Mundy is recognized.
Will this be a one-time vote, or will it have to come up annually?
You all will approve us receiving the settlement dollars. It'll probably come back once we know the specific allocation so that we can budget forward, do a budget amendment to appropriate the resources.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or thoughts? We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, please vote yes. All who are not in favor, vote no. Item C3 is approved unanimously. Now we will move to our general agenda items. Item G1, please.
Item G1, presentation on Greenway emergency routing systems.
Yes, sir, if you'll give your name for the record. I wanted to say our Parks and Recs Director, Mr. Royston, but it's good to have you with us today, sir. Please introduce yourself.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Chair Taylor, members of the committee. My name is Josh Billings. I am the GIS Administrator for the Recreation and Parks Department. I want to pull up a presentation here. Due to the nature of our emergency computer-aided dispatch system, location tracking of our citizens on greenways during emergencies can sometimes be difficult, which in turn can cause an increase in response times from our emergency responders. As a department, we knew that we needed to find a way to help assist with this. So over the past year, we have partnered with Map Forsyth to help improve the data that this system uses so that we can improve location tracking and response times on our greenways, trails, and in some of our parks. What I want to do today is provide a high-level overview of how the system works and also provide you guys how we have made these improvements to our CAD system. For the purposes of this presentation, we are going to use Muddy Creek Greenway as an example so I can help visualize how this process actually works. To get your bearings on this map, I'll provide a brief overview as well. Up here to the north, we can kind of see Robin Hood Road that follows this path here. We have Jefferson School and Jefferson Park property here at the north. This Muddy Creek Greenway square that you see here is the parking lot to access Muddy Creek Greenway. To the south, we have Country Club Road and Jameson Park. So that hopefully that kind of helps you figure out where we are in the city. So let's say an accident were to occur on Muddy Creek Greenway. That accident occurs kind of in a remote area on our greenway. And as soon as an emergency occurs, a citizen may call 911. As soon as they call 911, the 911 CAD system begins searching for the nearest address inside of our greenways and our parks or our trails. In this particular instance, we'll say that the nearest address point that is found is up here where this blue flashing dot is. As soon as that nearest point is found, emergency responders are routed to that specific address. There are a couple of problems with this. One, before we made these improvements, the greenways and the trails were not in our CAD system. So emergency operators had no idea how to route emergency responders to that particular area. If you're familiar with Muddy Creek at all, you also know that Muddy Creek follows the east portion of Muddy Creek. This area right here also has a steep embankment that responders would have to go down and cross the Muddy Creek to be able to access the actual greenway. This would cause emergency responders to probably turn around to try to find a new access point to the greenway, which could take 10 to 20 to sometimes 30 minutes extra time to respond to this emergency situation. So we were able to help alleviate some of these concerns by, one, getting all of our greenways and trails inside of our CAD system, and also providing address points every 1/10 of a mile on our greenways. So as you can see now on this map, we have these yellow dots with a number indicator beside of it. What these indicate are the address points on our greenways and trails. All of this has been integrated with our CAD system. This significantly improves location tracking. So now, as you can see, this blue dot is directly on where that location occurs. You can see that the address point is somewhere around 15 on Muddy Creek Greenway. This will also help to significantly improve response times for emergency responders as well. As we move forward over the next few months, you may be seeing some sign installation occurring on some of our greenways and trails in some of our parks. This is kind of a mock-up of what these signs may look like. This is not a final draft by any means, but what these signs will indicate is that this is an emergency sign used for emergency purposes, and if someone were to call 911, if they remember the number that they saw last, they could report that number to the emergency operator, and they could get emergency responders there much quicker. It's important to note that this is not just siloed to Muddy Creek Greenway or just to the city of Winston-Salem. This is a county-wide service. So these are a list of trails that these address points have been added to and integrated into the CAD system, and also a list of some of the parks that these will be going into as well. Forsyth County has also adopted this and has added it to their parks and some of their trails as well. So you guys will also maybe seeing some signs going up in county parks and trails as well. Finally, we also partnered with Map Forsyth. We partnered with the Winston-Salem Public Safety Department, Forsyth County Emergency Services, Forsyth County Parks and Recreation. We could not have done this without Map Forsyth. They have been an instrumental piece of this to help us move forward with getting the CAD system updated. They work very closely with Public Safety and Forsyth County Emergency Services, so without them, we couldn't have done this. We were very excited to kickstart this project because we know this project will have a huge impact on helping us keep our citizens safe while they are on our greenways, trails, and in our parks. With that, I would love to take any questions that you may have.
I think it's an excellent concept, and I do agree it will help to keep our citizens safe. And members of the council, are there any questions for Mr. Billings? I saw a lot of hands on the swivel, so he deferred to ladies first. We'll go with Councilmember Scipio, and we'll work our way around.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you for this presentation. Just a very minor question. What is the CAD system?
Yes, ma'am, that's a great question. So CAD stands for Computer Aided Dispatch. And basically, I'm not an expert on this by any means, but basically the way I understand it, it's our system that emergency responders use when someone calls in 911. It helps to locate the citizen and also helps to route our emergency responders to the correct location.
Thank you.
Councilmember Burke.
Yes, thank you, Chair Taylor. I don't have a question. I just want to say thank you. I think this is excellent, and it will provide additional safety for our citizens. So this just makes me feel real good that we're integrating the CAD system with our trails. So thank you to all who participated.
Thank you, Councilmember Burke. Councilmember Mundy.
This is, thank you also for the presentation and for putting this program together. And we know there have been incidents on the trails before. So this is a suggestion, I guess, for Recs and Parks to work with the marketing department to make an announcement to the public that this is now available. Let people know who are walking the trails how to access this, that it's something new. Otherwise, they might not know, and that this could save lives. So let's make a public announcement and a big deal about it.
Yes, sir. I absolutely agree. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mundy. Councilmember McIntosh.
So this is another use of technology that Recreation and Parks has done. You know, in the past, we've gotten some real good programs out there for the citizens to use. So thank you very much. This is a very good step forward. So my question is, I'm assuming we're doing this because 911 can't geolocate calls.
So the way our CAD system works, it probably doesn't work the way we think it works. We think that it can locate via cell phone, but it's actually locating via a address point.
Right.
So if we're in a Wi-Fi area, if someone has access to Wi-Fi, it's more likely to be able to access their phone rather than an address point. But when we're in more remote areas like this, it picks up that nearest address point rather than a phone because it can't quite pick up the phone.
And I'm assuming we're working, this is not necessarily for you, but for the EMS group kind of in general, but I'm assuming we're working towards that so that we can get to a point where we don't have to rely on street addresses. We can just ping a specific spot. So, I mean, we can talk about that down the road. My question is, how close together are these points on the trail, physically the distance between them?
Great question. They're spaced every 1/10 of a mile. Now, every sign, there may not be a sign that goes to every point, but the address points that is in the data is every 1/10 of a mile. Great. So if someone calls in, rather than having it spaced every half a mile or every quarter of a mile, those 10th mile markers are a lot better to be able to locate a citizen on the Greenway.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Larson.
Yeah, I really like this idea, and what I like about it as well is that somebody walking on the strollway or one of the greenways can now measure how far they've gone. It's like miles markers. And so you know you've gone 1/10 of a mile or you've gone 9/10 of a mile or whatever.
Absolutely.
The only suggestion I might have is that instead of doing like 21, do 2.1, which is 2 miles and 1/10, instead of just doing 21. Mm-hmm. So you know how many miles you've actually walked or ridden your bike down the strollway. I mean, you can figure it out, but if they know it's 1/10 of a mile, then they can measure the distance. But right now, as Councilmember McIntosh said, they don't really know what the distance is between the two markers.
Yes, sir, I definitely understand what you were saying. The way that data works with our system, we can't have decibel places in those. So we may be able to put 2.1 on our signs, but as far as the data, we would have to keep it at 21. But that's a great point. We may be able to put 2.1 on the signs rather than 21.
But it's just a matter of letting people know how far they've gone as well as where they are.
Absolutely.
Kind
Yes,
of
sir.
dual purpose. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Good work.
Thank you, Mr. Larson. Any other questions or comments for Mr. Billings? With that being said, members of the committee, this item is for informational purposes only. If you have any suggestions or feedback, please get them to Mr. Billings or Mr. Royston, and we'll do our best to get them addressed. Mr. Billings, thanks for the presentation.
Thank you all.
Item G2, please.
Item G2, information on the fire department's application for a FEMA Fire Prevention and Safety Grant.
Assistant City Manager Tony.
Thank you, Chair Taylor. This will be reviewed by Chief Chaz Browning.
Chief Browning, we appreciate you being here today. Hope you're well. If you would just give your name and information for the record.
Chaz Browning, I'm the Deputy Chief of Fire and Life Safety, also functioning as the city's fire marshal. Chairman Taylor, members of the committee, and council, this is an information item for our fire prevention and safety grant, which we are applying for. The application period closes the end of the month, March 31st. The grant is applying for 3 separate programs, and FEMA can choose to award 1, 2, or 3 of these programs. The first is in the area of community risk reduction. The program is going to be known as Get Alarmed Winston-Salem, and will focus on the life safety education offerings and smoke alarm installation initiative to the residences that need smoke alarms. The cost of equipment and materials is roughly $40,000, and there is a 5% match from the city required, so that would be a cost of around $2,000. The second program is in code enforcement, and we would like to purchase tablets to equip our code officials so they can conduct their fire safety inspections in real time, and it'll be more accurate, and it'll also allow them access to necessary standards and reference materials that they need to pull up and reference while doing these inspections. To outfit all of our inspectors, it's just under $50,000, so a 5% match would be roughly $2,500. The final program is for our fire and arson investigation. There is a lot of equipment and technology that's being used and industry standard to safely and effectively conduct these investigations. The biggest ticket item is a 3-dimensional camera that would allow us to document a potential crime scene and recreate that, and we'd be able to investigate it a little more safely. In addition to some protective equipment, other investigative tools that are necessary that would greatly aid the investigation program that the fire department offers. The cost of that is just over $60,000, so a 5% match would be right over $3,000. So all total, if FEMA decided to award all 3 programs, it's over $150,000, and a 5% match would be $7,500, which the fire department would cover out of its own budget. That's it. I'm brief.
Simple and brief. Any questions for us for Chief Browning? Councilwoman Scipio.
Thank you very much. I love when we go after money that's out there for us to just ask, and we'll have it. As you were describing the grant, I wondered how much arson do we experience in our city?
Great question. It's there, it's present. It is a difficult crime to investigate and prove because fire destroys a lot of the evidence. I don't believe, I'm relatively new in this position. I don't believe that we have a real problem with it, but it is there just like any other city.
Thank you. I think if possible, we can just get a little more background on that, just so the public will know, and that the rest of the council would know too. Thank you.
I can do that.
Thank you. Any other questions for Chief Browning? This is for information only. So I guess you'll keep us updated, Chief, as more information becomes available.
I will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Item G3, please.
Item G3, city participation in public information campaign for Winston-Salem Bar Owners Council.
I'd like to recognize Assistant City Manager Rao.
Good afternoon, Chairman Taylor, members of the City Council. This is an information item and a request regarding an initiative by the recently created Winston-Salem Bar Owners Council. Local bar owners, mainly those representing downtown establishments, recently created the council to develop initiatives to promote community safety. And their first initiative that they are rolling out is to develop a window cling that promotes community safety by specifically prohibiting behaviors and activities that could result in permanent ejection from their establishments. I'm going to just pull that up here real quick so you can get a good look at that. So this is the window cling. They've reached out to the city and to the North Carolina Department of Alcohol Law Enforcement and the Downtown Winston-Salem Partnership about displaying their logos on this window cling below in this space right here, where it says right below, these entities below are actively working with the WSBOC to keep our community safe. And then you can see the particular behaviors there that are prohibited and the consequences if patrons engage in those behaviors. So the city staff have drafted a letter agreeing to participate in this initiative, but noting with the understanding that the city's participation does not represent future endorsement of other WSBOC initiatives or policy positions, and does not provide special treatment to the member organizations, because we do want to note that there are some who have received nuisance abatement letters. The city has provided its logo manual to the council so they know how our logo is supposed to be displayed. There's certain standards that we require if the logo is displayed. We also are looking at the North Carolina Alcohol Law Enforcement's policy. Right now, they currently prohibit the use of the logo on initiatives like this. We are going to allow the council to utilize the city's logo as well as the police department's logo and shield. So what staff is seeking this afternoon is basically endorsement by the Public Safety Committee for us to move forward with participating in this initiative. If the committee does agree and does endorse our participation, then no further action will be sought from the committee or from the full council. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I believe Tiffany Howell, who is a member of the Winston-Salem Bar Owners Council, is here in case you have any questions for them.
Thank you, Mr. Rao. Ultimately, members of the council and committee, we're being asked to endorse participation in this particular initiative. It has been explained clearly. I'd like to recognize Councilmember McIntosh for comments at this time.
Thank you. Councilmember Scipio, Councilmember Mundy, and I all serve on the Downtown Winston-Salem Partnership Executive Committee. This was started by really within the bar owners associated, bar owners themselves, as an effort on their part to really make their places more safe, to increase public safety. And they have asked for our participation, and we have gone through, I think, we've looked at all the legal aspects of it. It is something that we can review from time to time. Within our endorsement is our ability to pull this back if things don't go well. I think, though, the effort that's been put out so far by the bar owners will make this actually quite effective, and hopefully can be passed on to groups or to establishments outside just downtown. This is kind of a blueprint format that hopefully other people can use. But a lot of effort has gone into this by the owners, and I really appreciate their efforts and think they're taking the right steps to increase safety at their establishments.
Thank you, Mr. McIntosh. And I will say thanks to all the business owners who are helping to pull this thing together. Ultimately, it will improve relations in our city, and I think this is definitely very important. Members of the committee, are there any comments at this time regarding the initiative? Councilmember Mundy.
I just have a few comments. I could say a lot. I'll try to keep it brief. I started conversations with these bar owners during COVID. I just want to remind folks that of all the businesses that were hit hard and never really fully compensated from ARPA money, bar owners were probably the ones that took the biggest brunt of that hit and were given no help in recovering, very, very little help in recovering. And the other thing we need to keep in mind is bars often are frequented by people in their 20s and 30s. These are folks, these age groups are the lifeblood of Winston-Salem's tomorrow. if we don't have a safe downtown, if we don't have an entertainment district for young people to come to, that makes Winston-Salem not a viable candidate for businesses to relocate here. This is we want to do it to help the bar owners, but we have to do it to help ourselves. We have to have an active entertainment district as an economic development tool. These things all work together. And I definitely am supporting this effort and other efforts that we can do to help the bar owners who are acting so responsibly in this case.
Good deal. And Mr. Mundy, I'll agree with you. A city's strength definitely depends on its ability to both attract and retain its young professionals. And I believe this particular initiative will help to do just that. Any other questions or comments regarding this initiative? It seems to me that the consensus is there and we are all on one page. So if this does not require a vote, but just formally so that you can officially uphold the council, can we get a motion on the approval of the initiative?
So moved.
It's been motioned. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of endorsing this particular initiative, please just as a voice vote, if you would just say yes.
Yes.
Any opposers?
I was wondering.
Councilmember Burke.
I was wondering, Chair Taylor, is it possible to hear from our chief on this, to see what our police officers are saying?
And coming to the podium is our police chief, Chief Penn. You have the floor, sir. Thank you, Mr. Rao.
Good afternoon, Chair Taylor, members of the committee. You wanted to hear from me?
Yes.
Always willing to partner with the community to make our community safer. So appreciate the bar owners. At the last forum, I was asked after the meeting would I endorse this. I said, let's go through the legal ramifications. Let's make sure we're good to go in that. And we would absolutely be on board if it's going to keep our community safe and let anybody who's coming into downtown area or any area within our city know that we are on the same page. We want to save Winston-Salem.
Thank you, Chief Penn. Councilmember Burke.
Thank you, Chief Penn. So I guess I have one question. This effort could be applied in other locations throughout our city. Is that possible?
I think so, that this was grassroots. The business owners began this, and we're on board with that. So yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
And Councilmember Burke, if you're aware of any areas who are looking to undertake something like this, let us know. We'll be happy to give you and all of your districts the same consideration. Councilmember McIntyre.
Just real quick, the organization gets stronger the more people that are associated with it. So there's an outreach effort, and the more people want to come on board, the greater the whole thing becomes.
Thank you.
Chief Penn,
Councilmember Larson.
Yes,
could
sir.
you take a moment and introduce your great blue line behind you? This is the best performance I've seen in quite a while, and I think I'd like to see.
Yeah, so I was talking to our officers in the back, and they said they came here today to support me. Now, I will say, however, that there may be another reason why they came here today, but this is part of our development for our officers. They get to come in and just see how our government works, see this at play, and go back and understand just how things work with the city. So that's why that back row is there.
There are heroes, and I want to acknowledge and thank you for being here.
They are heroes.
Hear, hear. Thank you. And I think the list of people who are here with you may be too long to name individually. So collectively, I will say thank you all for attending, and we appreciate what you do for our city. Thank you so much. Unless you want to, Chief Penn.
Time.
Mr. Larson is insisting.
Okay, all right.
Let us
stand
introduce
up.
everyone.
Okay, back row, let's stand up.
Don't get in trouble, Chief, I tell you.
We got time.
They're shy.
Aaron Jacobs. Officer Stephen May. Officer Thomas Palmer. Officer Ray Rice. Officer Jesse Walker. Officer Andrew King. Sergeant Jackson Madison. Officer Ashley Hunt. Captain Amy Dalton. Officer Gerald.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
As you can see, they don't like being put on the spot like that, but they're deserving. So I thank you for that.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate your time. Members of the council and committee, it appears that completes both our consent and general agenda items. I'd like to recognize Councilmember Mundy for some brief remarks.
Thank you, Chairman Taylor, and I thought all the officers were here to help Chairman Taylor celebrate his birthday, which is today.
Thank you.
But apparently that was not the case. I'm sure now that they know that. We'll say happy
Next
birthday
year,
to
we'll-
you. You know, if any of you use Facebook, I hate it because I can't find things that I'm looking for, and I've been scrolling and looking for this. There was a woman named Martha Ruskai who had a small fire in her home. She lives in Ardmore. She's warned us all that a rechargeable toothbrush she thinks is the culprit, either that or the plug that it goes into. Wallpaper caught on fire. It was not a huge fire, but she was very complimentary. She asked me to pass on the compliments to the, there were two companies that responded. One I know was Gale Street. I can't remember the other one, but she said they were just so efficient, so helpful. They calmed her down. They took care of everything. And again, this was just a very small fire, but she said that it made such a difference to her as an individual, as a homeowner, and she wanted me to pass that compliment on. I said we have a public safety meeting on Monday, and a lot of times individuals don't get to thank the fire department publicly, and I wanted to do that for her.
Well done, Councilmember Mundy, and thank you for taking the time to do that. Is there any other business that should be considered for the good of the order? Seeing no further business, we hereby consider this meeting to be adjourned. Thank you.